Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today we're going to be talking about Quake Champions, a game that I personally quit 1 year ago, but now I'm back, and I have a few things to say about this very interesting game. I quit Quake Champions for a very simple reason. It was completely unplayable. Terrible netcode, lag everywhere, shots not registering, the game was a complete mess and I didn't want to go and put myself through the torture of playing a game that I did enjoy. The core gameplay was fantastic and I really do love Quake, but the way Quake Champions was presented and the way the actual gameplay played out was unplayable. My last video on Quake Champions was uploaded on May 26, 2017, and it was ironically titled The Problems with Quake Champions. Now in that video I complained that Bethesda had no idea how to go and integrate new players into the game with a lack of tutorials, and furthermore the elitist community was pushing out any potential new players. I also talked about the netcode, I talked about the FPS problems, and in the end of it, I had no faith in Saber to try to go and recover the heaping stink of shit that Quake Champions was at that point. I thought they couldn't go and do it. So I quit because I didn't want to go and stay on a boat that was sinking at that point, despite me loving the game. So I come back in January and the lag hits me again, and I'm dumbfounded how Saber can't go and fix the netcode in over 6 months when it is a crucial gameplay issue. And with that said, I just instantly leave, doubtful if I'll ever go and play Quake Champions again. Fast forward to the start of August and I see a few videos from Frothy Omen, a YouTuber I used to go and watch last year for Lawbreakers content, start popping up in my recommended feed, and he's playing Quake Champions, and my interest went and peaked a little bit and I started playing again, because if Frothy's playing it and he's enjoying it, that must mean the game's in an okay state. So I install the game again, I hop on, I do the tutorial, because the last time I played was in Alpha and Beta and all my progress was wiped. I do the TDM versus bot matches, and I quickly realize that this game is nuts. Everything that I wanted to go and have changed with this game was changed, and for the better. It's insane what a year can go and do for a committed developer, because I thought Saber was going to go and give up, and I thought Bethesda was going to go and give up, but like, they're dedicated, and there is a lot of good stuff that's happening to this game, and I wanted to go and list it off for you guys. Now, to be fair, I'm probably not seeing the very deep issues of Quake Champions simply because I haven't gone and played it in such a long time, so if anybody could go and educate me on that aspect, please go and comment in the comments section below. But let's go and start with my wave of praise, and the first one is there is no lag, and there's like no lag at all. There's no teleporting, my shots are hitting, my FPS is tight with a solid 144 frames per second when I capped it, and I was barely cracking 80 frames per second 1 year ago. Now I checked the Quake subreddit from time to time, and some people said that the game is lagging for them, but I play every game on the lowest setting and my computer is definitely a very old rig, so if I get 144 FPS in any game, I'm like, okay, double thumbs up, that's good for me. But if you have problems, please go and express them in the comment section below. I'd love to get caught up on this subject. Next, a nice tutorial to go and ease players in. There's only a basic one as of recording, but it seems like there will be more in the future, but I read some comments and people have been saying there hasn't been a new tutorial since like a year, so that's something that Saber you gotta go and get onto. You gotta go and make the new players feel welcome. But from that, they're actually doing an okay job, because when you go and do that tutorial, you go into some TDM versus bot games, and that goes and gets you into the mood without getting absolutely demolished before you hop into casual. And that's actually really nice. It's the same model that League of Legends uses, and it's a really good way to get people into the game without feeling like they're absolutely powerless. So from there, I saw that there's no more playlist. I go and select which modes I'd like to go and play, and it puts me into the first available game, and that's absolutely fantastic, exactly what this game needed. Times to go and find a match were nice and quick, along with a short time to go and hop in game and a very short warm-up period. Absolutely fantastic. So I go and hop into a match, and the next thing I see, content, new maps, new modes, ranked play, custom matches, a ton of new champions who look so fun to go and play, and the emphasis is still on the core Quake gameplay. None of this goes and detracts from what Quake is, which is a skill-based first-person shooter, a competitive first-person shooter. None of these champions really go and take away from that. From what I can go and see, besides Death Knight, he's very, very good at this point, but everybody else seems like they have their place, and they're not too overruling when it comes to the abilities. If you want to go and dominate a lobby, you have to go and have great skill, great movement, great map knowledge, etc, etc. And the champion feels like, when it comes to this game, that it's simply just a vehicle, and different vehicles have different handling, have different characteristics, so on and so on. But in the end of it, it still comes down to how well you can drive. Hopefully that analogy comes across okay, but with that said, I completely counterpoint myself by saying that Death Knight is really, really, really strong and probably needs a nerf. Like the swipe with the fireball, man, that is so powerful, and a lot of people have been complaining about it. So let's go and talk about the monetization model right now, because if you guys don't know, I generally cover free-to-play games. Quake is going to be a free-to-play game, so when it comes to Quake Champions, I'm very, very interested in how they're going to go and make the money. Now, I love the model that they're using right now. Pay 30 bucks, you get all the champions. If you just want to go and skip the line, you can go and do that. Otherwise, use the free-to-play rotation or use the in-game currency to go and rent or buy them for permanent. It's an easy way for Bethesda to go and make money, and in the end of it, it's quite fair, because the champions in this game, it's not like, man, he is one champion that I don't have, man, I just can't go and beat him because he's a completely different champion. It doesn't really work that way. Compare it to like the potential free-to-play model that Lawbreakers was going to go and have, where all the heroes are completely different, and that means if you have one versus another, there is a definite, rock, paper, scissors counter matchup. But here, it's there, but in, a more toned down form, when, again, the skill and the knowledge comes through much more strongly than that of the actual champion itself. So now let's get to the elephant in the room. Why is the player base dead? As of writing, the 24-hour peak is 3,300 people, it's really, really bad. Bethesda gave out the game for free a little bit ago in June, I believe. They're going to boost the player base, and then it just put it back to the 5 USD tag, which is fine because it's quote-unquote early access or whatever, but that was only a band-aid fix, and it didn't help because, as I said before, 3,300 people from like 17,000 peak, that's a bit of a drop. So the reason? The gaming industry is obsessed with not playing quote-unquote dying games. And to be fair, I completely go and get it, because there's so many fantastic games out right now, and we have limited time, we have real lives, we have jobs, we have school, university, etc. We can only go and invest a small amount of time in a few games, and the more games you go and play, the less you're going to be good at each of those. So generally people play only 1 or 2 games, and if the game that you're playing goes and dies, or it seems like it's going to be dying, you want to be hopping onto the game that's going to be, around for a while, simply because your time invested will actually be a lot more worth it. Now, I completely understand this, because for some reason, I go and play games that eventually go and die. Lawbreakers, fantastic game, just managed terribly, marketed terribly, goes and dies. Combat Arms, a game that, oh man, I don't want to talk about Combat Arms, but the game's dead as well, and I could go and list off more and more, and I think it's the whole thing with the free-to-play and Nexon and whatnot, but whatever. In the end of it, I'm playing games that just drop off, and my time is wasted, and it would be better off just putting my time to something else, and so I completely get why people go and do it. So then we go to Quake Champions. This game has a massive launch, people like really into it, and then the issues start going and seeping from the cracks, and people are like, wow, okay, we're going to give the developers and the publisher just a little bit of time to go and fix it, and then nothing, and then nothing, and then nothing, and then nothing, and nothing, and that's when I went and left, and more people left. You could just see it going down and down and down. I think the peak in like December last year was like sub 1,000 people. That's absolutely terrible. So it's made a little bit of a recovery. And that's kind of what happens to a game where it has a bad rep, right? When it has a bad rep, it will always really have that bad rep. And Quake Champions is kind of the exception, because people still realize it was a really good game. It just had a lot of fundamental issues around it. So when those issues were fixed, or going to be fixed progressively, more and more people go and come back, and that's exactly what happened to Rainbow Six Siege. The game had a terrible launch, The game was completely broken. I went and stopped playing basically at launch, and In the end of it, I didn't go and touch the game again until a long time later, simply because the stigma around the title was it was bad to play. But as we can go and see, the game is thriving right now because the developers went and put the effort in, and that's what I can go and see with Quake Champions right now. Saber's putting the effort in progressively, bit by bit, the game's getting more and more better, and that's fantastic because when the game goes free to play, there is a big opportunity for the game to go and have, you know, a decent sized player base. Now, to be fair, I don't expect this game to have a massive player base, like, comparable to, like, other free-to-play first-person shooters like Black Squad and Iron Sight and stuff like that, because this game is inherently hardcore. It's meant for people that really want to go and get the most competitive experience, even in the casual matches. It's rough. You just get dominated over and over again. That's Quake, but Quake's always been that game that people gravitate to if you want that type of experience. So it could be popular not in terms of a massive player base, but more so in terms of esports and Twitch streams and stuff like that, and people wanting to go and get better and so on and so on. And that type of angle that CSGO has taken, inherently CSGO is a much easier to access game. But regardless, I feel like Quake Champions could go and take that angle, and I talked about that a year ago as well, and I'm still waiting for that to go and happen. You know, QuakeCon, come on, just go and buff it up a little bit, go and, you know, get some hype around it. It's like no hype at this point for a really fun game in my opinion. So now let's go and talk about that free-to-play aspect, and it's very simple. It's Bethesda's one opportunity to really get this game going. Screw it up and it's downhill from here. It would be basically unrecoverable. You already tried to go and do that free-to-play thing back in June. That failed. So you try it again and the game isn't ready. The game's just going to go and drop dead. People just not going to go and play it. They're going to play other Quake titles because there's many other Quake titles out there that are still kicking around just barely for those hardcore players to go and play. But if you want a living game where new blood is getting fed into the ecosystem, Quake Champions is that opportunity. It's that game. But if you screw up a launch, it's downhill from there. But if you go and do it right, Quake Champions will be the best free-to-play first-person shooter. Hands down. Like, I like Black Squad, I like Iron Sight, but they're made by developers that don't have the biggest budgets, right? They don't have the biggest budgets, and the mindset of those games is a bit more linear than what Quake is trying to go and accomplish. What Quake can go and accomplish is big. Esports, it can go and accomplish that. It can go and capture the casual audience that just hops around and just plays a little bit of deathmatch or whatever, but it can also go and capture the hardcore crowd. It can go and capture the competitive crowd. It can go and capture the people that just go and watch streamers on Twitch and just in awe of what they can go and do. This game has a lot of potential, and it's not going to go and blow up like Fortnite, because Fortnite just goes and caters to the masses. But with that said, I feel like this game does really have a platform and a nice structure to go and build up on, so it can actually really be one of the juggernauts in the free-to-play world. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this commentary. If you did, make sure to go and hit that like rating. Comment in the comment section below about anything I want to talk about this video. Any of my points I went and brought up wrong? Did I go and mistakenly said something that you guys are just fuming about? Oh, undercover dudes, how dare you go and say that? Tell me in the comment section below. I'd love to go and get a discussion going. But other than that, it's undercover dudes all the way from down under. Out.